Good evening. My name is Sharon Arkfitz. I'm the district clerk for the Board of Education. The July 12, 2022 organizational and regular meeting is called to order at 6:32 p.m. Please rise and join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Tonight we're going to be starting with the administration of the oath of office for our newly elected board members. So Nicole, Doyley, will you please stand and receive your oath? Raise your right hand and repeat after me. I do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States of America.
I do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States of America
And the Constitution of the State of New York.
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
And that I will faithfully discharge the duties of office of member of the Board of Education
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of office as a member of the Board of Education
in the Penfield School District according to the best of my ability.
in the Penfield School District according to the best of my ability.
Congratulations. And now our re-elected board member, Emily Belser. Please stand and raise your right hand for the same oath. I do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States of America
I do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States of America
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of member of Board of Education
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of member of the Board of Education
in the Penfield
Oh, yeah,
School
I was gonna
District
say.
according to the best of my ability.
in the Penfield Central School District according to the best of my ability.
Congratulations. Okay, next we'll be doing the election for the officers, and nominations will be received for the president and the vice president. And Robert's Rules of Order does not require a second to the motion, but if one of the board members wants to second the motion as a show of support, it will be accepted. Then after the nominations are closed, we'll take the vote. So the meeting is now open for nominations for the office of board president for the 22-23 school year. Do I have any nominations?
Yeah. Board members, Lisa Benati-Chidsey has been a board member for 8 years, taken on numerous roles, and has been the vice president for the past 2 years. So I'm pleased to nominate her for the role of president.
I second that. All righty. We have a motion by Mark Elledge and a second by Catherine Dean to appoint Lisa Benati-Chidsey as president of the Board of Education. Are there any other nominations? Okay, seeing none, I'll close the nominations and we'll call for a vote. All those in favor? Any opposed? All right, congratulations, Lisa. So let me
And we'll do it after the,
Oh, they do it later.
I don't know.
time for your oath.
Oh,
Are you going to do the swearing right now? Okay.
I didn't remember. Thank you.
You're welcome. Use those funky glasses.
I know, but then I have to.
Are you ready? Raise your right hand and repeat after me, please. I do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States of America
I do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States of America
and the Constitution of New York State,
and the Constitution of New York State.
and that I will faithfully discharge the office of President of the Board of Education
And I will faithfully discharge the office of President of the Board of Education
in the Penfield Central School District according to the best of my ability.
in the Penfield Central School District according to the best of my ability.
Congratulations. Okay, now we'll open up the meeting for the office of Vice President for the 22-23 school year.
I would like to nominate Emily Belser for the position of Vice President for the board. Emily has been an incredible mentor to myself for the past year. She has sat on multiple committees, and I think it's time for her to take a leadership role even bigger on our board.
Is there a second? I second. Okay, we have a motion by Kristen Harley and seconded by Catherine Dean to elect Emily Belser for Vice President. Are there any other nominations? Seeing none, the nominations are now closed, and I'll call for a vote. All those in favor of Emily Belser for board president, please raise your hand. Any opposed? Okay, seeing none, congratulations, Emily.
To do it again.
If you would raise your right hand and repeat after me, please. I do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States of America
I do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States of America
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of Office of Vice President of the Board of Education
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the Office of Vice President of the Board of Education
in the Penfield Central School District according to the best of my ability.
in the Penfield Central School District according to the best of my ability.
Congratulations, Emily. Okay, thank you, everyone. And now I will turn the meeting over to our new board president, Lisa Benati-Chidsey.
Thank you, Sharon. Our first item is to move into executive session. So if I could have a motion and a second that we move into executive session this evening for the purpose of the 2 items listed in your agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Any comments or questions? All those in favor? Thank you. Sorry. I got to do this glasses thing, which is really super fun. So we have a motion that we'll move into exec session at 6:38 p.m. Thank you.
Yep.
Welcome back, everyone. We'll call the meeting back to order at 7:15 p.m. And we are on to regular business. Our first order is approval of tonight's agenda. May I have a motion and a second, please, that the agenda of July 12th be approved as submitted?
So moved.
Second.
Any comments or questions? All those in favor? None opposed. Thank you. May I have a motion and a second to approve tonight's consent agenda as listed? We have several bids and recommendations for CSE, CPSE, and personnel changes.
So moved.
Second.
Comments or questions? All those in favor? Motion passes. All in favor. May I have a motion and a second that tonight's treasurer's report for May 31, 2022 be approved, including cash report, general fund cash report, general fund revenue status report, fund balance status report, and school lunch fund.
So moved.
Second.
Comments or questions? All those in favor? All in favor, none opposed. Thank you. And then we have special reports. Yes?
Yeah, we have one special report, but 2 topics. It's just a textbook presentation for the board's review in the community, and I'll turn it over to Dr. Maloney, who is going to be doing the textbook presentation for ELA, as well as science and earth science text. And just note that typically we have teachers and department chairs here, but it is summer, it is July, so thank you to Dr. Maloney for stepping in and making sure that our 10-month staff can enjoy their evening.
Thank you. So the Spelling Connections is the first textbook, and yep, there are some slides related to Spelling Connections. And our K-5 Humanities Committee is bringing this forward for adoption. Just a reminder, that committee is facilitated by Sheena Conway, our Director of Humanities. And Dr. Driffel, if you can go to the next slide. As research indicates, spelling supports reading. So I've got some quotes here to support that. The first, being able to spell well is important. The benefits go well beyond good spelling. For young children, research clearly indicates that spelling supports learning to read, and for older children, it is likely that learning about meaningful relationships between words will contribute to vocabulary growth and reading comprehension. And then a similar quote underneath there, spelling and reading, build and rely on the same mental representation of a word. Knowing the spelling of a word makes the representation of it sturdy and accessible for fluent reading. So as you may remember, I want to say we are in our 5th or 6th year of Super Kids, which is aligned to the science of reading, and Spelling Connections aligns with the science of reading as well as the next generation learning standards. So Dr. Driffel, if you could go to the next slide. Super Kids is a K-1-2 program, so kindergarten, 1st and 2nd grade. Spelling Connections would be for 3rd, 4th, and 5th grades. And you'll see the standards in which Spelling Connections aligns, particularly at 3rd grade. You'll see the very last standard there, recognize and read grade appropriate irregularly spelled words. And on the next slide, Spelling Connections provides explicit spelling instruction grade by grade that is integrated into instruction in the following areas: phonics, vocabulary, word study, writing, and informational text. As I mentioned, Spelling Connections aligns with the science of reading, which supports explicit instruction in spelling patterns, spelling rules, grammar, morphology, and vocabulary. Research tells us that the best differentiator between good and poor readers is their knowledge of spelling patterns and proficiency with spelling sound translations. So this program provides that bridge from grade 2 where our Super Kids program ends to grades 3 through 5 where word study and phonics-based instruction are still integral to a strong core ELA program. So this will not be the sole program. Remember that at grades 3, 4, and 5, our teachers teach integrated units, which bring together ELA, social studies, and science. So this will be, this will complement that. The reason that this is coming forward right now, the programs, first, for 2 reasons. One, we were not consistent in terms of the program that we were using. We were using a program at 3rd grade and then a separate program at grades 4 and 5. This would be consistent grades 3, 4, and 5. And coincidentally, both of the previous programs are out of print. So that's the teachers came to the humanities committee and said, help, we need something, this is going out of print. So what does the approach to Spelling Connections look like? Actually, Sheena Conway shared with me today, she's very excited. There is we've offered independent training for teachers that is online, and they work through it self-paced over the summer, and she's been working on it as well. And she said today the teachers they're gonna love this. It's taught over a 3 to 5 day cycle in 15 to 30 minute segments. Teachers will have the flexibility to be able to build in and incorporate where they see fit. The lessons are scaffolded. Spelling Connections has an online portal where there's pre and post tests, videos, games. So it really support students will be able to, teachers will be able to use it for stations, and we're really excited. The last slide actually talks about next steps in terms of training. So there's the asynchronous training option right now for teachers. We will offer in-person training for when teachers return from the summer, those first few days before students come back. And then in our new master schedule, there will be common grade level planning time, and we'll use that time in September to help provide support, answer questions, and determine what teachers need in terms of any additional next steps. That's Spelling Connections. I'll take any questions on Spelling Connections, because then I'm going to shift to the complete other end of the spectrum to earth science. Mark.
The training you're talking about the teachers, I mean, is this more or less an evolutionary change to where the teachers with their professional training, they can almost take this and adopt it as they go, and it's more
Yes.
familiarization.
Yes, it won't be, the philosophy behind the program will not be a shift for teachers. And it aligns so well with what we've been working on with the science of reading.
Thank you.
Kristen?
I just have a question about spelling connections in general. I saw on the slide that there definitely was the rule of soft G, which I think is important for kids to learn the rules so they can generalize. Is there also a focus on the different syllable types?
I believe so,
Okay.
because something that I was skimming through showed the syllable types, so I don't know
Because I know that
how
just
much
lends
of a
itself
focus
well
it
to
is.
the
Yeah,
decoding piece.
right.
Okay, thanks.
All right, so shifting to earth science. I do not have as many slides on earth science. So our current text, I can remember Dr. Putnam, before he was a doctor, bringing that text to the board to present and have it approved. That was in 2011. In 2016, New York State adopted new science standards. And so we're currently in a transition period where Shane Watterson, our TOSA for science, as well as Nicole Whitehead, our director of STEAM, they have been working with teachers to transition to these new science standards. And the first administration of the Earth Science Regents exam that will be aligned to these standards is coming in June of 2025. And so the team has worked diligently to try to find a textbook that aligns with the new standards, and that the team really feels supports those new standards. So we have a new textbook that we're bringing forward. Copies of the Earth Science textbook as well as Spelling Connections will be available at district office as well as the Penfield Public Library. So anyone, board members, community members, families are able to review those books at either location. Any questions on Earth Science?
Board members, questions? I actually have a quick question.
Sure.
A few years ago, you guys were realigning middle school science. So is this like the next progression?
Yes.
Okay, that's what I wondered.
Yes. Yep,
Awesome.
and there was a little stall with COVID.
Right.
But now we're transitioning
Got it.
the high school standards.
Great, that's
Yeah.
exciting. So then we'll be moving on to like living environment, like all Earth?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, biology, physics, and chemistry.
All right, great, thank you.
That concludes special reports.
Pretty. Oh, but it's still you, because now it's
Oh, yeah.
superintendent reports.
Yeah, usually there's a student who we gave the summer
Oh,
off
that's
to.
right.
So I've got a few, I think I got my clicker here. So superintendent reports, I just have some student and staff honors, a very brief Penfield School District update, one slide, and then I'll turn it over to Dr. Driffel for business updates, and then over to Ms. Sapone and Dr. Maloney for UPK update. So I did mention for textbooks that we let the 10-month staff, we didn't have them come in, but I do have Mary Sapone here who is incredible, but UPK we're so excited about, so I'm so glad you're here to present on behalf. And then back to Dr. Maloney for the professional learning plan that needs to be approved through the state. And just as a reminder, this meeting is our reorg meeting required by law to have within the first 2 weeks of July, so it's a bit of a longer meeting in terms of going over all of the organizational items that school districts need to approve or boards need to approve entering the year. But first, hang on, I got it? There we go. Let's try this. Here we go. So welcome now to new board member Nicole Doyley. Congratulations. You just got sworn in, and we look forward to working with you on behalf of the district.
Thank you so much.
Scribner had their Girls on the Run. Each year, the Scribner's Girls on the Run team chooses an organization they support for their community impact project, and this year the team raised $1,500 for Ukrainian Cultural Center of Rochester. So great kids at Scribner doing great things. Speaking of great kids, one of our outstanding students, congratulations to PHS senior Sierra Perkins, who was recognized as Penfield's outstanding student at the annual EMCC recognition ceremony. That's the Eastern Monroe Career Center. She attended a half day through their programs, and just a great award for one of our high school students to receive. Science contest, congratulations to Indian Landing fourth graders, Jaden and Virginia, who were named winners in the BOCES for Science Powering Through the Fair contest. Their work will be showcased during the New York State Fair, and they each won tickets to attend the fair with their families. So great job. So make sure you see the butter sculpture and then go over and see our incredible science students from Indian Landing. Editorial competition is very cool. We talked about this earlier in the school year, in the end of the school year with the board. Just congratulations to juniors Nicole Bell, Joel Coyle, and Bia Reichman. Their editorials were selected as winners out of over 16,000 submissions in the 9th annual New York Times editorial competition. Wow. And the students researched and wrote their editorials as part of their 11th grade advanced placement language and composition class with Mrs. Strong. And so B was a runner-up. Her title, her editorial was "School or Services? Public Districts Need More Holidays." An honorable mention from Joe was "Video games could be the key to youth cognitive development." And round 4 finalist Nicole was "American Dream, more like environmental nightmare." So these are, if you recall, were hanging up in the hallway, all of the editorial submissions. It was a great opportunity to take something real world and turn it into an assignment that really pushes kids to write at a deep level. So congratulations to these students, and of course to Mrs. Strong. PHS graduation, the high school class of 2022 graduated on June 22nd, and so just congratulations again to all of our seniors. Many thanks to everybody who helped make graduation ceremony a memorable event, and I'm sure everybody knew, because they loved the new Earth Science textbook, that the weather held off. It was supposed to thunderstorm. It rained like an hour before for about a half hour. It cooled things down. And we do hope, although we love Frontier Field, we do hope to be able to get back to an indoor seating so we don't have to worry about weather to the last minute. So again, congratulations to our great seniors. And just one update I have, which is our bus safety program. And for all parents, for the board, if you want to stop by, please feel free. And for anybody who has an incoming kindergartner, Monday, August 1st will be for Cobbles and Harris Hill, and Tuesday, August 2nd for Indian Landing and Scribner. It starts at 5:30 and ends around 7:15. It's really fun, especially if it's your very first kindergartner, because parents in the kindergartner will attend a cafeteria program at Cobbles, and then they hop on those beautiful yellow buses and take a ride to Harris Hill by bus for the bus safety program, and then they return by bus to Cobbles. And so having done it twice, it is quite a lot of fun, especially if they've never been on a school bus before. And our bus drivers and transportation, the transportation office, does an incredible job with the safety program over at Harris Hill. That one I can't get inside because the buses don't fit, but please hope for really good weather on Monday and Tuesday, August 1st and 2nd. And unless there's any questions.
Board members, questions?
No. All right.
All right, so I will turn it over to Dr. Driffel for our business updates.
Thanks, Dr. Putnam. Good evening, board. Happy summer to all. Hope everybody had a good 4th of July holiday. As Dr. Putnam mentioned, tonight is the annual reorganization meeting, so in your packet there is a certifiable laundry list of designations and appointments, different officers that the Board of Education needs to annually certify and adopt. I have a slide forthcoming with just a couple of the changes that we've made this year. Otherwise, things are status quo relative to last year. This evening, we do have a consideration for you regarding product standardization. So I have a slide on this as well. We need to renew our school physician agreement with Dr. Toot. He is listed as our school physician in the reorganizational action forthcoming later in the meeting. So there's a separate contract approval for him. We have to approve next year, 2022-2023, current year, BOCES contract approval based on our final request for services from Monroe One BOCES and associated cross contracts with the regional BOCES. We have a renewal of an intermunicipal fuel agreement with the County of Monroe and the Sheriff's Office regarding fuel depot usage. And then we have a consideration for you that I have a slide on for investing in liquid asset pool in New York State. And finally, we have 3 contracts to approve for private duty nursing agreements. This is a little bit of a change. We haven't had the board approve this before, but because the state-derived rate for those private duty nursing services for this next school year for medically fragile students bumped up so much, it's almost double where it was 2 years ago. We anticipate those contracts being over $20,000, and thus they require board approval. So as I mentioned, all of those Board of Education appointments, designations, and adoptions are on your packet for consideration later in the meeting. As Tom mentioned, it has to be done within the first 15 days of the fiscal year, academic year, which started on July 1st. The changes in this year's reorganizational items include adding a deputy internal claims auditor. So this was a change we made mid-year last year. So it was good to have a backup recognized, so we weren't scrambling to get checks out, so we can get invoices paid. So we have 2 people on there this year. We have some slightly updated fees for facilities use and bus use. The facilities use fees weren't for usage, but for any associated labor associated with those usage. So the custodian fees were up $1 or $2. If food service was required, it was $1 or $2 per hour. And then updated pricing for any community use of our buses based on a per mile proration. We have updated various personnel. So for instance, attendance keepers, folks on our professional learning committees, all of those associated turnovers, retirements, new hires, things like that. And then, as I'll discuss again in a second, we added NYCLASS to the list of authorized depositories and banks where we are allowed to keep our funds as a school district. So the lock set standardization, so this is for the actual key cores that we have in our doors across all of the district. We had a previous standardization done that was in the late 1990s. So what this does is specify a specific manufacturer of the product so that it makes things easier for us. So we only have one key core system. Where all of our folks are trained on one system. We have replacement parts on hand. That's why we do it. At some point, we transitioned between 2008 and 2012 to a different manufacturer. And we did actually find a draft board resolution to make that change, but we couldn't find the approved minutes reflecting that change. Doesn't mean it didn't necessarily happen, but we couldn't find the minutes to reflect it. So we want to get in writing that this is our practice. So it is our current practice to use Schleg. It's been our practice for at least 10 years, potentially 15 years. So what this does is just give us the ability in future capital project bid work to say, we want this product specifically, as opposed to saying we need a product that's of this substantial equivalent, so that we don't have various key sets all over the district. So NYCLASS is the New York collateralized liquid asset pool. It's compliant with New York State general municipal law. The 3 requirements associated with that are for safety, liquidity, and legality. It's one of 2 liquid asset pools that the state of New York offers to its municipalities, so not just school districts, counties, towns, villages, cities, so forth. What it does is allow us to put money into the fund, and it's completely liquid. So as opposed to doing a treasury bond with the federal government or a CD with our local bank, the money's not tied up for 6 months. We could withdraw it every week. And in this environment, we're not seeing the local CDs keep up with the treasury rates. So it provides us an attractive opportunity as we come into the tax collection season in September, where we can put some money to work and start to actually see some interest earnings, so we can earn back some money based on what we have in the bank. The policy committee is considering language tonight, I believe for first read that would allow us to do this. So it's not something we could do right away. We wouldn't be able to do it until after second read in August. But that's what that program is. And those were the operational, facilities, and financial items that I had for you tonight. I'll take any questions or discussion.
Board members, questions?
Just had a quick question, Lisa, or Dan. That the reason we're approving that one thing that you said we didn't normally approve is because it's over $20,000?
The private duty nurses, yep.
Right. Has that always been the number? I thought it was 15. Has it always been 20,000?
The state general municipal law is anything over $20,000
Okay.
requires approval, and if it's
Yeah.
public work, it's $35,000.
Oh, okay.
We changed our board policy 2 years ago from 15 to 20,000.
Okay, all right.
Yep,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
You were remembering correctly.
Yes, I was remembering something.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's good.
The liquidity pool, what's the rate based on?
So it's based on a daily compounded rate, and it's just based on a mix of factors that they have access to. So it's close to treasury rates, it's close to CD rates, because they in turn can't put their money into anything that's not GML compliant, so it's not collateralized at 102%. It's not, we can't put money into equities, we can't put money in anything like that. So it's based on those fluctuating rates, and because it's a daily compounded rate, it just moves quicker. So it just gives us a little bit more flexibility. It's not to say that we're necessarily going to engage in this, but we want the option as we move into a higher rate environment.
Thank you.
Other questions? No. Actually, I had a follow-up question to that. So daily means no penalty? You can put it in today and take it out tomorrow? Like, is
It's
that?
a weekly withdrawal.
Oh, weekly.
But
Okay.
it's a daily compound as opposed to, a 90-day yield, a 6-month yield.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Okay.
And because we operate within a fiscal year, it's not like we can sign up for a 2-year treasury or a 1-year
Right.
treasury. We have shorter, we're more time bound, and our cash flow is more sporadic. So we have tax inflows in the fall, we have state aid in the spring, so we have to kind of manage our outflows and our inflows. So it's an attractive option, which is why so many New York State municipalities utilize the service.
Right. Interesting.
Mhm.
Okay. Good.
So our next update, I'll have Ms. Sapone come up, and it's our update on universal pre-K. And as she's setting up, I just wanted to, again, publicly just say thank you to Mary, to Dr. Maloney, to Ms. Ramsey, and the many other players who really did a lot of work on making this happen. So this will be the first year that Penfield has had a universal pre-K. We don't have, it's not truly universal, to be honest, because we can't have everybody come, but it is a great start to really dig in and see how this works. So just the amount of time, work, effort, learning that went into this is pretty incredible. So just thank you, Mary, for being here, and I'm glad you're presenting on it in the sense of how much work you put in along with Dr. Maloney and the Office of Instruction.
Great.
So Mary,
Yes.
Sure. I just also wanted to say a quick thank you, and for those either at home watching or for a reminder for the board, Mary is currently our chairperson for the Committee on Preschool Special Education. She is also going to be our UPK liaison. So as Dr. Putnam mentioned, both Mary and Taylor Ramsey, Taylor was a 3rd grade teacher at Harris Hill, and as part of her administrative internship, Mary and Taylor worked, I agree with Dr. Putnam. I don't have words to describe the how much work went into being able to get the UPK program off the ground. And it is going to be a reality for 116 students, which is the maximum number per our allocation from the state education department. So we're very excited. We've got 4 community-based organizations that we are partnering with, and we felt that it would be a perfect time to bring to you an update where we're at, where we've been, where we are, and where we're headed. So I'm going to let Mary take it away, but I just wanted to also share my gratitude and appreciation for all the hard work.
Sure. Well, my pleasure. Well, good evening, everyone. Thank you for allowing me to be here. The last time that we had actually an update on universal pre-K was the board meeting in November 9th of 2021, so quite a bit, like Leslie had said, has happened since then. A couple of the things that are noteworthy is that we had regular stakeholder meetings throughout the course of our planning for universal pre-K. Those stakeholder groups included the Penfield committee members, like Dr. Maloney had described, teachers, parents, community members, and also principals as well. We met regularly throughout the school year, and they really just sort of held us accountable, and we were able to share information about what we were planning for universal pre-K, and they were able to give us advice and ways to kind of go in terms of some of the questions that we had. We also identified our community-based organizations, and we completed the RFP process. So in the universal pre-K world, community-based organizations is just a term that is used to when we identify places in the community that we're utilizing to house and site our classrooms. And those, like Dr. Maloney had said, the 4 sites that we are using are Carolot in Fairport, Children's Continuous Care in Macedon, Browncroft Daycare in the city/East Irondequoit area down on Browncroft Boulevard, and the Bayview YMCA. And those are the 4 sites that we're utilizing. In February of 2022, Dr. Maloney and I held a community question and answer night where we answered about 60 questions from the community. It was really well attended by community members and parents that were interested in universal pre-K, and it was a great night to kind of lay out our plan to the community and for them to ask us questions. We completed our open enrollment and our lottery in February and March of 2022. And then currently we are just in an ongoing process of families accepting their placement, registration for Penfield and the community-based organizations, and we're working through our wait lists to develop full classes at our community-based organizations. Most noteworthy of some of the things that we've been doing is the selection of the curricula that we are going to be using for universal pre-K. So we developed a focus group of kindergarten teachers that reviewed a variety of multiple different curricula and got their feedback on what they liked about the curriculum that they thought would work best and would most seamlessly transition into kindergarten for our students as well. So we were able to identify the creative curriculum by teaching strategies, second step curriculum, and Heggerty phonemic awareness as well. First, the creative curriculum is that's really going to be the main curriculum that we use for kids to address math and ELA. It is aligned specifically with the New York State pre-kindergarten learning standards. It has a sequential and it's very sequential and specific about the timing of the lessons and activities, which I think is important because the classrooms are, widely spread out among Penfield and otherwise. I really think it's important for us to identify specific lessons that each CBO is working on at the same time so that there is uniformity across all of the sites, being that they are so separate. There's small and large group learning, discussions that will use children's foundational skills to then build upon. It addresses all content areas, obviously through play-based instruction because this is preschool. Provides play and explore opportunities. There's diverse representation in text and lessons. Supports English language learners. There's ongoing family communication that's integrated into weekly lessons. And then there's an online component for teachers to track students' progress and how they're progressing with the learning standards, and then to sort of address different levels of learning in very specific ways to get the students to where they should be to master that learning standard. So it's really structured, but I think in a really good way that allows for creativity for teachers, but also for sort of structured, focused learning for the students and really identifying where each student is with where they are in the learning standards as well. And then the last two curricula that I just wanted to speak about was the Early Learning Second Step program, which will be our social emotional learning curriculum. It easily transitions into kindergarten because it's what Penfield already utilizes at the elementary level. It incorporates how students learn how to learn at preschool, which is a huge foundational skill for getting ready for kindergarten, developing empathy, emotional management, and friendship skills. And there's even a unit on transitioning into kindergarten as well. And then last but not least is the Haggerty Phonemic Awareness, which again, Penfield utilizes at our elementary level. So the kids will have really a lot of familiarity in terms of what they're learning at that level when they come into kindergarten. There's daily oral and auditory lessons that incorporate rhyme, phoneme isolation, blending, segmenting, and manipulation of sounds. And we plan to have the trainings for all of this curriculum for the identified teachers at the CBOs in August and early September of this year. So we're really excited, and I'm glad to have the opportunity to share it with everybody and the community members as well. Can I take any questions?
Board members, questions? Mark? Sure.
When we went from half-day kindergarten to full-day K, the first grade teachers noticed a big improvement in the preparation of students that came through that program. Has there been any talk about monitoring the development of the kindergarten students, the incoming kindergarten students, for the ones that have gone through pre-K versus not through pre-K?
The pre-K? We have talked about that in terms of the kindergarten teachers. Maybe not specifically.
So, Mark, interestingly, the kindergarten teachers had the same question that you just asked. And I think probably it's based on their experience from when we went from from half-day kindergarten to full-day kindergarten. And the teachers would really like to have the UPK teachers a part of their collaborations and when they meet as a kindergarten team, so that to help support that transition. And in terms of the monitoring, so as part of the requirements for UPK, we have to screen students multiple times throughout the year. And so the screenings and the assessments will help us to monitor as we progress through the year. And then we're looking forward to having the kindergarten teachers be able to collaborate with the UPK teachers and just provide that level of support, because our UPK teachers, these are our students, but the UPK teachers will be housed at different locations. So there's a unique relationship there.
Great, thank you.
Other questions?
One quick one. You've probably answered this before. How long is the school day?
The school day is 5.5 hours.
Oh,
it's considered a full day.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I don't have a question, but I have a comment.
Sure.
Two things. I see having our UPK teachers be a huge asset in just placement of our kids in kindergarten, because I know as an elementary teacher, the kindergarten teachers don't always know who mix well with one another. I think that'll be really huge, just starting off school years. And also I love the three curricula that you picked, because I just see that connection to our district initiatives with SEL and that social emotional learning and play, and just the really importance of the fundamental skills of that phonemic awareness for developing that reading. So kudos to picking really great curriculum.
Thank you.
Thank
And
you.
a big
Thank
shout
you,
out,
Mary.
really,
Thank
because
you.
the community,
Thank
I think,
you.
is really excited. So thanks so much.
It is exciting.
Awesome.
We'll go back over to Dr. Maloney, who's just got a couple slides on the required professional learning plan.
So each year, the Board of Education approves the professional learning plan. And the professional learning plan is, it outlines, it's required by New York State, and it outlines our approach to professional learning, as well as mentoring. And Penfield is unique in that New York State requires districts to provide mentors for new teachers who are new to the profession. Penfield also provides peers, which are mentors to teachers who are new to Penfield. So that's also all outlined in the professional learning plan. What's different this year, I think we throw around, and as educators, we throw around different terms often, and CTLE hours is often thrown around, and I don't know that there's ever been a true explanation for the board and the community. So continuing teacher and leader education hours, those are required for educators. 5 years ago, New York State implemented these CTLE hours, and the number of hours that are required are dependent on your certification type. So typically, it's 100 hours for every 5 years that you're in the profession. So the piece that is different this year, because those 5 years are up, we needed to have our plan submitted. Typically, it simply goes on the district website. Now the plan needs to be submitted to New York State and approved by New York State. What's different is both New York State and the district can award CTLE approval. So those consultants or organizations that we work with that provide professional development, we can approve them so that they count towards the teachers' CTLE hours, which, as we've talked about, our faculty meetings this year have been, teachers have been able to use those for CTLE hours. But really what's different about this plan is that we had to list all of our, what are referred to as our CTLE sponsors. So Kevin Marriott, who is our Assistant Director for Professional Learning, worked very closely with Mary Jo Pearson, who is the Assistant Superintendent at Monroe BOCES 2. And she has really been the champion spearheading the approval of these plans for our area in supporting districts. So we have submitted our plan. We submitted it back in June. We're waiting to hear back, but that's where you'll see a little bit of difference. The other piece, we did work to shift some of the language. Some of the language was outdated, and we shifted it to align with the culturally responsive sustaining education framework, and that includes our work around restorative practices. So you will approve it, but State Ed will as well this year.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Questions for Dr. Maloney on that?
I actually had a quick question. So if we have to provide the list, what happens if mid-year we have a new partner or there's a new training something?
That's a great question. We can add them to our list.
Okay.
And keep updating our list. And the other piece that's really nice is the State Education Department, they update their list. So a lot of times what will happen, for example, the Children's Institute. The Children's Institute is on the State Ed approved list, so we're good to go. We don't need to worry about it.
Got it.
But as we, new consultants, for example, world languages, their standards are changing, and we are working with a consultant to help support that work. That person has been added to the list. So we're allowed, the state allows you flexibility to be able to add to the list, as
Gotcha.
long as they meet the requirements.
Okay, great.
Yep.
Thank you.
That concludes superintendent reports.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Alrighty. So we are moving on to organizational items. Oh my, there's lots of pages of organizational items.
It is the reorganization meeting.
It is the reorganization
yes.
meeting.
There we go.
I'm going to start on page, I'm really not reading all that. So we had a previous list to review in our packets, as well as Dan reviewed some of the changes. So may I have a motion and a second that the organizational items listed in 6A1 through 6A52 be approved for the 2022-23 school year?
So moved.
Second.
Questions or comments? All those in favor? None opposed? Thank you. So we're moving on to the facilities item where Dan mentioned the product standardization of the locks. May it be resolved as follows. It is hereby determined that for reasons of economy and efficiency, including, but not limited to, a reduction or elimination of modifications to existing equipment, minimization of purchase, training and repair costs, and compatibility with existing supplies or equipment to ensure proper operation, that all door locks, cores, and keying systems shall be purchased through, how do you say that? Schlage, in compliance with applicable competitive bidding and procurement requirements. This resolution shall take effect immediately, and the district's administration and engineers are hereby directed to take all steps necessary to effectuate this resolution. Why are all these big words in here today? May I have a motion and a second to approve this resolution?
So moved.
Second.
Comments or questions? All those in favor?
How do you say
All
that
right,
word
none of,
again?
I know, right? I have to remember that. I have to practice my vocabulary. Is there one of those spelling things that I can
I was
have,
thinking,
please?
we've
I
got
know,
some
right?
great preschool curriculum that
Seriously.
we've gone through.
I might need that.
Asynchronous training.
Yeah.
Right. Be moving on to financial items number 8. So we're going to approve the school physician contract. It is necessary to approve this contract terms and conditions for school physician Dr. Robert Toot for the 2022-23 school year per the terms of RFP number 18-10. The contract amount is $29,401.66 and a 3.5% increase over the prior year based upon the PAC contract. Dr. Toot's contract runs August 1, 2022 to July 31, 2023. May I have a motion and a second, please, that the Board of Education authorize the superintendent of school or his designee to execute a contract between Dr. Robert Toot and the district for the 2022-23 school year.
So moved.
Second.
Any comments or questions on that? All those in favor? All in favor, none opposed. Thank you. Moving on to the BOCES contract. There's a contract in the amount of $12,629,012.56 has been received from the Board of Cooperative Educational Services covering services to be provided Penfield students for the 2022-23 school year. If the board approves, the following motion is in order. May I have a motion and a second that the Board of Education authorize the signature of the president and district clerk to the contract in the amount of $12,629,012.56 from the Board of Cooperative Education Services covering services to be provided Penfield students for the 2022-23 school year, and the payment of the subsequent invoices for services according to the schedule for 10 times per year, plus additional supplemental billings as needed. The superintendent of schools is also authorized to amend the contract from time to time as additional services are requested or dropped. May I have a motion and a second to approve the BOCES service contract for 2022-23?
So moved.
Second.
Comments or questions? All those in favor? All right, none opposed. Thank you. We have a resolution authorizing the intermunicipal agreement. Whereas the County of Monroe has indicated a desire to extend the intermunicipal agreement with the Penfield Center School District, and whereas the Board of Education finds that there is a mutual benefit to such an arrangement, therefore be it resolved that the Superintendent of Schools is hereby authorized to extend the intermunicipal agreement with the County of Monroe for the provision of vehicle refueling by the county for the period of September 1, 2022 through August 31, 2023. So this is our fuel agreement. We didn't really talk about this with the Monroe County Sheriff, is that correct?
Yep, I mentioned it's a renewal. It's still the same difference in cost. Essentially, I think it's 10 cents more per gallon versus our cost, just for the administrative cost of billing them back and tracking all the usage.
Okay, great.
Yep.
Thank you. Motion and a second, please.
So moved.
Second.
Any questions or comments on that? No. All those in favor? Thank you. All in favor, none opposed. Oh, and then we have another one. Whereas the Penfield Central School District wishes to invest portions of its available investment funds in cooperation with other corporations and/or district pursuant to the, say this again, NYCLASS, is that how you say that? NYCLASS Municipal Cooperation Agreement amended and restated as of March 28, 2019. Whereas the Penfield Central School District wishes to assure the safety and liquidity needs of their funds, now therefore it be hereby resolved as follows, that Dr. Daniel P. Driffel, Assistant Superintendent for Business and Finance of the Penfield Central School District, is hereby authorized to participate in the NYCLASS program under the terms of the NYCLASS Municipal Agreement amended and restated as of March 28, 2019. May I have a motion and a second?
So moved.
Second.
Comments or questions? All those in favor? All in favor, none opposed. Thank you. Then we're moving on to the nursing contracts. May I have a motion and a second to approve the independent contractor agreements with Renee Allen, Marcela Ambrogue, and Amy Stanton for the performance of private duty nursing services for medically fragile students effective July 1, 2022 through June 30th, 2023.
So moved.
Second.
Any questions or comments? Nope. All those in favor? All in favor, none opposed. Thank you. We're at item F, donations. Penfield High School received a donation totaling $3,000 to support the science department from Corning Incorporated Foundation. Could I have a motion, please, and a second to approve the donation and an amendment totaling $3,000 to the 2021-22 budget as shown above? The amount submitted both as revenue and expenditure items, and express our gratitude to the donors for their generous support of Penfield schools.
So moved.
Second.
Questions or comments on that? All those in favor? All in favor, none opposed. Woo! I should have got a water. Gotta remember that for next time. We're on to textbook approval. We had a textbook presented at our June 7th meeting. And have we had any public comment on that?
We have not. I'll double check with Dr. Maloney, but I don't believe so.
Nope.
All right, great. May I have a motion and a second, please, that the board approves the recommended textbook that was presented on June 7th as listed in your agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Comments or questions? All those in favor? All in favor, none opposed. Thank you. All right, so we're on to policy review?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So we have policies for first read, the one that, do you want to talk about it? Or
You like it?
I would like a break, I think you
Sure,
should.
I can. Yeah. So we have three policies up for first read. It's district investments in Dr. Driffel referenced this. This is that NYCLASS possibility. So the board, by having this policy, would allow the district to utilize that mechanism if and when determined. The other is residency policy 7130 and its regulations. And just as a reminder, the board has to approve policies but not regulations. But we always, and for transparency, bring the regulations to the community and to the board as well so they can see them. They're all online. This policy of residency is just a shift. It used to be that students who move out of district had to move out of district within the last basically 10 weeks of the semester. Otherwise, they couldn't stay. And so we've just run into some situations where students move, a week before the second half of the semester. And so we'd like to be able to have that ability to allow them to remain in the district to get through the semester. And it's really about all students. It doesn't happen often, but it's that opportunity for students to at least finish the school year or finish a semester to help them transition to their new district in a cleaner way at the end of a semester or the end of the school year. And again, doesn't happen that often, but it is aligned with what most of Monroe County does too, which is allowing students to finish a full semester. So that was really the language, and that's up for first read. And then transition services was some minor changes in the policy. Doesn't necessarily change the transition services, which is for students with disabilities who are leaving high school. But there are some changes in there really around wording, and we added some things, I believe, and took out some things because they were in other policies.
Right.
So we removed some things because they already are referenced in other policies. All of our first read policies are online on the board site, on the website, under policies under review. And as always, people in the community, we encourage for if they have questions, concerns, comment about the policies under first read, please do. And otherwise, we bring them to second read to discuss again and then vote on.
Great.
Any questions on that? Nope. Alrighty. So we're moving on to an agreement with Penfield Association of Educational Office Professionals. May I have a motion, please, and a second that the board approves the agreement between the Penfield Association of Educational Office Professionals and the Penfield Central School District effective July 1, 2022 through June 30th, 2025.
So moved.
Second.
Questions or comments on that? All those in favor? Great, all in favor, none opposed. Thank you. We also have a second agreement this evening. May I have a motion and a second that the board approves the agreement between the Penfield Support Staff Association and the Penfield Central School District effective July 1, 2022 through June 30th, 2025.
So moved.
Second.
Any questions or comments on that? All those in favor? All in favor, none opposed. Thank you. So the district emergency response plan, we talked about this in May. I'm assuming because this had to go up for comment as well, public comment? No, we didn't receive any comments?
No comments were
Okay.
received.
Pursuant to Commissioners Regulation Section 155.17E3, the district held the required public hearing for the 2022-23 Emergency Response Plan on May 24th, 2022. It has been available for public comment for 30 days and must now be adopted by the Board of Education. May I please have a motion and a second to approve the Emergency Response Plan as presented on May 24th, 2022.
So moved.
Second.
Comments or questions? All those in favor? All in favor, none opposed. Thank you. And then we have our code of conduct for the New York State School Board members. This is not a requirement, but I think it's our practice that we bring this to our board meetings as just a reminder of what our code of conduct is. Our New York State School Board Association has a code of conduct for school board members. School board members may approve it yearly as a reaffirmation and show of support for the state code of conduct. May I please have a motion and second to approve the New York State School Board Association code of conduct?
So moved.
Second.
Comments or questions on that? All those in favor? All in favor, none opposed. Thank you. Alrighty, so now we're on to item 15. This is our evening's visitor speaking time. We have we have four speakers that are signed up. As a reminder, there are instructions to participate in visitor speaking time are listed both in the agenda and are available online. The board will not be responding to comments during session, and we will have district personnel as appropriate follow up with anyone that has some concerns or comments. Speakers should limit their comments to 3 minutes or less, and please, of course, be respectful of others in your words, conduct, and demeanor. Our first speaker this evening is Ms. Rachel Kennedy. Hi, good evening, Ms. Kennedy. Can you please state your name and address?
Rachel Kennedy, and it's 18 Cobblestone Crossing in Penfield.
Thank you.
So I just want to say congratulations to all the newly elected board members, and thank you to our family and friends who came to support us tonight. And thank you for the opportunity to speak to you. I and my family appreciate your efforts and service to our district. I am here to express a heartfelt desire to begin conversations regarding a partnership with the district and district students and families who choose to home educate. Currently, there are hundreds of students within the Penfield School District who are being home educated. These families include some who have home educated K through 12 or have chosen home education due to reasons related to COVID, work schedules, medical needs, high maintenance educational needs, and many others. As a home educating family with 4 boys in 7th through 10th grade, we adhere to New York State regulations for our educational programs, and we have an ongoing, albeit distant, relationship with the district. Our individual home instruction plans, quarterly reports, yearly test scores, and annual reviews are received by Monroe 1 BOCES. Currently, those New York State regulations allow access to various extracurricular outside of classroom activities within our district per the discretion or policy of the school board and superintendent. More often than not, however, in Penfield, home educated students are not given access or are only given entry on a personal review, individual decision basis. I am seeking access to extracurricular activities such as sports, after-school clubs, school musicals, etc. for all home-educated students and families who desire this connection to their community. I would like to begin this conversation based on hopes for a positive collaboration and partnership that can support all district students' education. I often talk to residents who are quite surprised that as a home-educating family, our children are being denied access to opportunities that the state clearly says are allowable. Other areas within the state, including surrounding areas, allow this access, have policies to define these connections, and actively seek partnerships with home educators. In our 2022 post-pandemic world, with homeschool numbers rising and partnerships sought, Penfield School District has the opportunity to be a leading inclusive example by including all district students, rather than just those who attend school within district buildings. A connected community really has no limits. My family cheers in our town parade. We enjoy the fireworks. We love and participate in activities with our neighbors. We play with our children at Jack's Place. We hike trails at Harris Whalen. We get frustrated with the traffic at the Four Corners. We fish in Arundecoy Creek. We attend school plays to support our neighbors' children. We cheer our Penfield teams. We survived operating a business during the pandemic to remain Penfield strong. We support and employ many Penfield residents, and yet my children are not given access to participate in the activities that their peers enjoy. We are some of our town's biggest fans. We would not have built and currently operate a Penfield business. We would not support other local businesses, vote in our local town elections, or have decided to raise our family in a town we didn't love. I and others want to make Penfield stronger.
Thank you, Ms. Kennedy.
Okay. I didn't realize there was
Our next speaker is Miss Paula Derleth.
Yep. That was a hard act to follow. She was quite good and quite articulate, so I really appreciate her doing that. And I also would like to thank my family and friends and all the local people. I am Dr. Paula Derleth. I live at 1734 Harris Road. As a fellow constituent and graduate of Penfield myself, I'm here to discuss the opportunity for our homeschool children to be included in school sports, extracurricular activities, clubs, and plays. I was born and raised in Penfield and wholeheartedly support this community. I have played Penfield sports myself and see the value in organized sports, community, and friendship. As a mom of 5 boys ranging from age 12 to 10 months, I would love for them to experience some of the wonderful things that I have experienced in this community. My boys already experienced the camaraderie in youth sports through lacrosse, which is what has led me to this journey and hopefully allowing them to continue the experience, the joys, and grow in this community. When my oldest asked me to please come to the board and ask them to discuss being allowed to play modified lacrosse, I had no other option than to choose to come to express my concern for the change. In teaching our children, in today's climate of teaching our children inclusivity, tolerance, community, and diversity, we feel like it is time for a change on homeschool students being discriminated out of public school spaces and sports. I know that change can be hard. I'm sure many of you weren't even aware that homeschool students are not allowed to participate in any school sport, club, activity. In fact, we talked to other communities members that are perplexed at the nature of what they are saying. They can't believe that this could possibly be true. And I know, so it was worth coming to the board to ask for change. Many of you have expressed the need for change in your public schools during your campaign. My understanding from speaking with many other locals, different schools, Albany, Syracuse, even some local, like some kids are allowed to participate in rowing, some kids are allowed to participate in Fairport, they're allowed to participate in extracurricular clubs. I feel like Penfield really needs to come to the plate. In understanding this, it is a choice from what we've talked to legally and from the town. It is a choice for the school to decide whether or not homeschool children can be included in these opportunities. Penfield has the opportunity to practice what it preaches and include all children. Many people homeschool for different reasons, some for COVID, some for other reasons. I personally homeschool because I have a dyslexic child that needs a lot of extra time and space. It would be difficult for the district to meet his needs in the way that he needs them to be met. School comes difficult to him, although sports come quite easy. He was a state champion in gymnastics and has played above his level in lacrosse since kindergarten. I have a very gifted child who on average is 2 years above grade level, and it also would be difficult for the district to meet his needs, both many emotional needs too. No matter the reason, There's a time and place for all of us in this community. We preach equality, inclusivity, anti-bullying, and understanding. It is my hope that this board will work towards Penfield being a space for everyone. I am willing to help you guys, and I am willing to go the extra mile for my children to be able to receive all the things that all these wonderful public school children are receiving. So it is my ultimate goal that every child feels loved and supported, and I'm willing to go the extra mile to help you all get there. Thank you so much.
Our next speaker is Miss Dana Murr. Hello, welcome. Please state your name and address.
Dana Marr, 1690 Qualtrough Road. There are some legislative bills that have been proposed related to comprehensive sexual education. New York State Senate Bill S2584A and New York State Assembly Bill A616. If these bills are passed into law, this would mean that effective July 1st, 2024, that public schools no longer have a choice around sexual education, and how it is being taught, and comprehensive sexual education will be a required curriculum for students grades K through 12. We are already seeing in our schools where children are being asked what gender they associate with. Remember, especially when they are taking into consideration young children in their elementary years, kids are developing their sense of self, simply trying to identify the things that will make them who they are. Their interests, their favorite color, their favorite food, their talents, and the list goes on. Kids need to grow strong in their own identity. When we impose outside influences and explaining to young children about many different genders and ways that people sexually identify, and they have not yet fully developed their sense of self, we risk opening a very concerning Pandora's box. Suppose a little girl likes cars, but someone explains to them that they could be a different gender than that of what they were biologically identified as when they were born. This child may begin to question their sense of self when they were just starting to develop their confidence in identifying their interests and who they are as a person. We absolutely have a duty to teach children the importance of kindness to one another, regardless of how they may be different, whether it be sexual identity, ability, appearance, or interests or beliefs. There have also been many situations in schools, even within our own county, where materials are being used to teach young children sex education that could be easily described as pornographic in nature, and are teaching children about the physical feelings that can occur. These things are being taught at an age younger than what would be considered old enough to give any sort of capable consent. Due to how sensitive these issues are and the significant impact this could have on our children, I would like to request transparency and that parents have opportunity to participate in committees that are formed to share information about the proposed curriculums so these can be discussed and feedback provided. Just as has been done with other laws passed, the school board has opportunity to engage in advocacy efforts with our New York State leaders regarding these bills. It is vital that the district is aware of and involved in understanding the full gravity of these bills, what is being recommended, and pursuing to advocate for what is in the best interest of the student body as a whole. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Our final speaker tonight is Mr. Carmen Leonardo.
Good evening.
Welcome, Mr. Leonardo. Please state your name and address.
Thank you. My name is Carmen Leonardo, and I reside at 1915 Penfield Road. I am speaking tonight on behalf of Penfield United for Education Excellence. At the last several meetings, I have spoken about the board and administration's lack of transparency. I have given specific examples and provided solutions easily implemented if the board and administration wanted to improve its transparency score. I requested you schedule meetings in between board meetings for the express purpose of accommodating public questions and answers. I requested a committee with parent involvement be formed to review the SEL curriculum, schedule changes, and the program. Previously, the faculty, staff, administration, the board president, and I spent 4 long months exchanging email messages in which I was asking for objective metrics, justifying the expenditure of hundreds of thousands of dollars on a program that arguably has very little to do with teaching and education and is mostly about current societal trends. To date, and as has been our experience with you over quite some time, you simply obfuscate and redirect when you choose to respond, or you simply ignore. Tonight, I will present you with another example of how to improve your transparency and become more responsive to sensitive to the needs of the public. You allot 30 minutes near the end of your agenda for the public to address the board, forcing parents to make a choice of whether to come and speak with you or stay at home and attend to the needs of their families. Many have children that are under the age of 13. We ask that you modify your agenda to put this item near the beginning, perhaps before regular business items. We ask that you retain the 30 minutes near the end of the agenda to allow for audience questions and clarification of the items discussed that evening. And finally, we ask that this period of public comment be called something other than visitor speaking time. Frankly, we are not visitors. When we come to make comments, it's either an attaboy because we think you are doing a good job, or criticism of your action and work. It's akin to a supervisory relationship in where you serve us, not the other way around. And we are giving you feedback on your performance. You are the visitors here, and you serve at our pleasure. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Alrighty, we are on to President's remarks. So, a couple things. We have the New York State School Board Association Annual Convention and Expo this year will be in Syracuse. The dates are October 27th to the 29th. So it looks like early bird registration is August 1 through September 11th, so we probably want to think about that within that time frame because I think it's more discounted rate. And Nicole and Krista will talk a little bit more about, what that entails and travel and, what people are thinking. But it's optional, but there are several different professional development type of opportunities. This is a nice one because they bring a lot of different speakers together from all over the state to have different workshops throughout the day. So it's really great. There's also a, which isn't listed, but you might have received an email about the Summer Law Conference. Some of us attended that last year. There is a virtual option this year too, and then there's also a local option, which I think is this week, right? Because I don't think I can make that. I think it's Thursday, but there is a virtual option. And then there's also one in Albany in August, which is new, like a day and a half conference. So there's a lot of professional development going on. Sharon typically does registration for us so that we all kind of know what's going on, and then we try to get together and share information so we can talk about that further. Is there any unfinished business that anyone has to bring forth? No? And then listed under new business is all our committee and liaison assignments that we will renew for the next school year. Sharon, if she doesn't know this yet, but I think she does, is going to be working on a little chart for us so you know when these committees meet, what time of day, how often, so we can talk about who wants to do what, and you guys can let us know what interests you. And for our new members, we'll talk about this when we do some onboarding discussion so you can understand what the different committees do and what the choices are. So we don't really need to decide that. We'll decide that probably over email, and we can talk about that at our next meeting and see what everyone's thinking. I know, Mark, you are already going to be co-leading labor relations, correct? Okay, because I messed that up. I think I told somebody that it was legislative. So, so Mark will definitely be doing that. And many of these committees have more than one board member too, so it's not like an exclusive assignment.
Questions? Anyone have questions on that?
No.
No? All right. So, I think we're done. Look at that. Woohoo. May I have a motion and a second, please, that we adjourn tonight's meeting at 8:27 p.m.
So moved.
Second.
Questions or comments on that? All those in favor? All in favor, none opposed. Thank you.
Nice
Meeting
job,
adjourned.
Lisa.